Hello and welcome back to Meat City Gaming. JD here with another episode of Battle Bites here in World of Tanks on the console. And today we're going to do a tank review on the AMX Chaffee, what we're looking at here. This is a tank that was for sale only once so far, and it was over a year ago. I think it was in July of 2015 that this was for sale. It was also bundled with a package that included the T95E2, but you could get it separately as well. And it hasn't been for sale again. I don't think the PlayStation folks have ever had access to it or a chance to get it, but I feel like it's due. It's coming soon. The fact that it's been over a year strikes me as a bit odd. So in case this is coming soon, I wanted to get this video out there. This has been a French heavy week for me in terms of the vehicles that I've been playing. I was working on my Lorraine 40T, and I just finished it. I have the Bat Chat. A video for that is coming out soon, but because I got the Bat Chat, I needed to train my French crew to get them back up to 100% in the Bat Chat, and so I played a couple of rounds in the AMX Chaffee, and as you can see by my XP in the tank, I've played more than a couple games in it throughout my career. It's such a fun tank, and I had a couple of really nice games in it, and I thought, why not put my best one of those into a video and include it as part of a tank review for this tank, and hopefully when this is available again soon, you guys will have a little bit of an idea of what this tank can do and if it's appropriate for you. So this is a Tier 6 French light tank, and it does have Tier 10 matchmaking. It can see Tier 10s, and it does on a fairly regular basis. That is the big red flag for players out there. You may think you're buying a Tier 6 tank, you'll have some nice mid-tier matchmaking, and occasionally that'll happen, but more often than not, you're going to see definitely Tier 8s, a lot of times Tier 9s, and not unfrequently Tier 10s. So keep that in mind. It can be frustrating to be running around in this thing with its very limited hit pool, which we'll talk about very soon, with Tier 10 guns shooting at you. But if you can get around that, those games where you don't have the crazy high matchmaking, and even those that you do, if you play the tank right, if you get lucky, if you put yourself in the right situations, you can have some really amazing games. So let's take a quick look at the tank in detail. And we're going to step through the modules here first using this awesome armor viewer that we have. And we can see mobility is this tank's strong point. 560 horsepower, but what's key is the tank is very light. So you get just about 29 horsepower to ton power weight ratio. It's very quick. It accelerates up to its top speed very fast. The top speed is very good as well, 56 kilometers per hour. It's great. This thing is mobile. It can scoot. It can change flanks. And you want to use that to full advantage to have success in this tank. Then we have the gun, and the gun is the other novel kind of interesting feature on this tank. It's a 75 millimeter. It's an autoloader. There are 6 rounds in the clip, and it reloads very quickly. So 16 seconds to do a full clip reload is great. You get 6 shots off. In terms of how those shots come out, you get about a 1.8 second delay between shots, which is very fast for an autoloader, faster than the T57 Heavy. But keep in mind, you have no armor, so if you pull out, pump all of your clips out, you're going to be there for 8 seconds, 9 seconds, 10 seconds, and you'll get shot if you stay there. So it's unlikely that you'll be able to just pop out and unload your whole clip in one go, except for certain circumstances, near the end of the battle, if you have the flank of a non-turreted tank or whatnot. The other thing to know is the aim time is 2.3 seconds, which is longer than the clip reload time, than the shell reload time in the clip. So yes, if you're sitting still, aiming at a target, you pull the trigger and fire, before you are fully aimed, the next shell will be ready to go. So if you're at long range, you may need to give it a little extra time, another 0.2 of a second, to get that aiming reticle down to where you want it to let your next shot rip out. If you're very close, then that's okay, and you can use the clip to its full potential. But at long range, with the accuracy, you might want to give yourselves an extra couple of tenths of a second to fully aim. The tracks, this thing is very mobile, 56 degrees per second rotation speed. Mobility is great on this tank. View range, 390 meters for a Tier 6. That's great. For a Tier 10, yeah, I mean, you're going to be facing tanks with 390 and 400 all the time. They're going to have good crews. They're going to have good equipment. So spotting is something that this tank does well. You'll just need to be cautious about it. The radio, just so you can see where the location is in the turret. And then the ammo racks. So first we'll talk about the location. You can see there's a pair in the turret, the rear of the turret, and a pair central in the hull, but they are very narrow in terms of their height. Look how low that is. So even if you have the side of this tank, it's going to be really tough to hit those little ammo racks at the bottom. Again, this thing doesn't have many hit points, and it doesn't have any armor, so you're going to be going through anywhere. But if you have your choice of anywhere to shoot the tank and you want to try for an ammo rack, shoot for the back of the turret there. They pretty much take up that entire space, and you'll be able to hit that pretty easily. In terms of the ammunition, we can see there is regular armor penetrating ammo, and that gets a fair penetration for tier 6. You can see the damage per shot is low. You're at about 135, I think, per shot. And the penetration is, 140 to 160 is the average kind of roll that you'll be hitting there. For tier 6 tanks and 7 tanks, that's pretty much gonna get the job done. But 8s and 9s, even the side of the turret, if you have a flat side of the turret of some of these German and Russian tanks, you're gonna bounce. So be aware of that. Your shot selection needs to be really, really good in the high tier battles that you'll see in this thing. You need flat side of the hull. You need the rear of these tanks. So keep that in mind. You're not just going to be able to throw shells down range and hit these big, beefy tier 9 targets and do damage because the penetration values just aren't there. You can also load premium rounds. APCR premium rounds do bump the penetration by quite a bit, but again, even with that, if you're shooting at the front or the turret of many of the tier 9, tier 10 tanks, you're not going to get through. So that ammo will help with the side of the turret of some of those tanks. If you have a side surface and you're like, man, that really should be going through, and it didn't work with your regular rounds, the premium rounds will probably get you there. But heavily armored frontal surfaces, this tank will not be able to get through at all. And then the location of the crew, so you can see where they are. 4 crew members, spaced nice and evenly, 2 in the front, left and right, and then 2 in the turret as well. So we'll talk about the armor very briefly because this tank has no armor. You can see the minimum and maximum values, 9 millimeters to 40 millimeters. No spot on this tank has more than 40 millimeters of armor. If you get hit, you will be penetrated, you will be damaged. If you get hit with high explosive, more often than not, you will also get penetrated and you're going to be hurting. So don't get hit in this tank. Don't try to use your armor. You can't side scrape. Use your small profile, hide the tank, use your mobility, keep moving. That is the secret to this tank. Forget using the armor because you just don't have any. In terms of equipment, one interesting thing about this tank, it's a tier 6, but because it's got kind of the American blood in its DNA, it does get the opportunity to load a vertical stabilizer. And I certainly recommend that. It helps with the aim time on the move. And even if you're still, it keeps that reticle a little bit smaller. So a good thing to do on this tank. And then the others, you can do this how you like. I put a camo net on it and coated optics. For me, this tank is, if I'm in a high tier battle, I want to get into position to hide and spot and rack up assistance damage. So I want to get to a bush, use the mobility to get there quickly, increase my view range with coated optics. There's an argument for binocular. If you thought that was a better way to go, I certainly wouldn't argue with you. And then I went with a camo net again because I want to get there and get my camo up as high as I can and sit and passively scout and light things up, because when you're lighting up these high tier tanks, you can get a ton of damage from assistance damage. Remember, they're using these big shells. Every shell that the tier 9 or tier 10 artillery lands that you're spotting is a ton of assistance damage. So it's a really good way to rack up credits and XP in this tank. And often you're not firing the guns, so you're not giving yourself away. So it's a good way to do that safely. So I think that finishes up in the garage. Now we'll take a look at a nice replay I had recently in the AMX Chaffee. So here we go in an encounter battle on El Haluf. And we can see that in the encounter battle, everybody kind of starts closer to the A1 corner, which is where a lot of the fighting occurs. And so one of the things I like to do early in the AMX Chaffee is to get out front into a position where I can do some spotting, light some targets up, and get some early assistance damage. We can see we're in a tier 8 battle, which is pretty good for this tank. If you end up in a tier 8 battle, you should feel fortunate. So we get in a position here, we do see a spot, and then there's an AMX 12T, I think, on the enemy team, going for the cap, and wow, what a nice snipe that was. Lucky to get the right lead on the target, lucky to have the shell go where I wanted it to go at that kind of extreme range. So we get a nice little bit of early damage in, and then you can see the beauty here. I can reload that clip, which is half empty, and by the time I'm at the top of the hill, it's basically loaded, so you don't really lose a whole lot by firing off a couple of speculative shots and then going for a reload. So since some of my allies were so aggressive there and pushed over the hill in front of me, I decided I can poke into this ridge and get some shots down here at the Freedom. That's a premium tier 8 American medium tank, and it's pretty well armored from the front, but from the side, you can see we have no trouble going through here. And so, boom, there we go. That was a nice, I think 4 of those shots went in along with the kill shot, and a nice result there. We eliminate that tank thanks to the aggressive push from our allies. If they weren't in front of me, I couldn't have poked down this hill because there's a chance that the enemy could have poked on the opposite ridge. And again, you take 1 hit in this tank at tier 8, half your hit points are gone. You take 2, and you're heading back to the garage. So now we know there are some enemies in the cap, and I'm thinking maybe if my allies can light up whoever is capping, I'll be able to throw a shot or 2 out there and probably get them in the side. And there we can see there's the AMX 12T, but at long range, the shell doesn't quite have the velocity to get there. He's already pulled back by the time the shell had traveled. So I'm looking and trying to thread a shot in there, but don't really have an opportunity. And they've pulled back out of the cap, so I don't really need to worry about that anymore. So I can come up here and try to help my allies in this position over the ridge. Now I see an ISU 152, and that's the kind of tank. It is moving. Look, it's getting into position now. It does take a hit, and I'm waiting for it to turn. I can see here the outline of the tank. It looks like it's looking up the hill, and now there we go. We can see it lengthen. It's now aiming to the side, down the hill, and we get some free shots in. Now I'm worried this guy's going to turn and point his gun at me at any second and eliminate me from the game in 1 hit. But he doesn't do it. So we put some shots in. I go for a tracking hit. And I know I said you can't bounce shots with this armor. But that one bounced. That's one of the only times I can ever recall bouncing a shot in this tank in the, I don't know, 200 games I must have played in it. That was insane. And now we're fully reloaded that quickly. I don't know if the ISU has left, has rage quit. They don't seem to be moving at that point. We're able to pump another 3 shots in and secure our second kill. Man, I don't know what shot us, but I can just imagine the fury on the other end of that controller as they think they have a nice shot into an AMX Chaffee, and it bounces. I've been there myself, so to have it happen for my benefit once was nice. So now we've got a Tiger who's kind of poking over the ridge here, and thankfully we're at long enough range where we're not spotted. When we shoot, we might get spotted. We don't. We put 1 into the tracks. The second one goes into the plate. Now I aim for the turret. The flat part of the turret is the weak part there on the Tiger's armor as it was looking kind of our way, and we were able to thread that one in for 3 more nice hits into the tank. One of those I think was just a critical hit. We pull back, and now we're reloading, and the game is looking pretty good here. It's 8-3. I've got 2 tank destroyers on my team facing off against 2 enemy tanks, I think a medium and a heavy, and I decide I'm going to go for it here. Oh, wait, but before I do, can't pass up an opportunity to shoot the enemy artillery. As I'm aiming, I think our friendly already put in a huge hit, leaving him on just a fraction of hit points, and we're happy to finish off an artillery any chance we get. And now with 5 remaining shells, we're going to do a little surprise as we come up around the corner. And there we go. We're going to go for the Motherland first because it's very weak in terms of its hit points. We put 2 in. He rushed the shot, which means now I can take my time. Make sure that last one gets down, so I'm shooting into the back of the tank. You can bounce off the turret of a Motherland. It has a lot of weird angled surfaces. It's fairly well armored. So I have had that happen a number of times. So we get down into the hull, and we take out that tank. And as we move forward here, we're going to go for another reload. And now we see an IS. That is a Tier 7 Russian heavy tank, and boy, it looks like he's not at the wheel, is he? So we're going to put a couple of shots in. We go for a tracking shot to increase our assistance damage, and after an ally puts in a hit, leaving him on very few hit points, we're able to secure the kill. There we see the artillery shot whizzing over our forehead. We know where he is. We're going for a reload. 5 kills in this tank. A Top Gun would just be tasty. I feel like this is the cusp of an ace tanker badge. I do have 1 or 2 in this tank, but it's been a while. I'm feeling like this could be it if I can finish this artillery off. There he is. We slam on the brakes. I aim before it's fully reloaded. I go for the second shot, and the friendly already on my team. How did he know? How was he so fast? That was crazy. That was about a 2-second window for that artillery to aim in and accurately place the shot to remove that artillery. But great shot. We don't get the Top Gun, but nice result here as we'll take a quick look at the post-game stats. 5 kills, 2,400 damage, almost 1,900 assistance damage, and look at the medals, the experience, and the credits that we earned. Almost 100,000 credits. That was increased for a 1.25 times because of an operation. We did secure a, what was it, a 500 bonus op for the XP, a 1,000 bonus op for the XP, and a 2 times bonus. This was a crazy amount of XP and credits. A lot of it was enhanced by the operations going on at the time, but nonetheless, a great result, a fun round, and this is certainly at the high end of what you can do in this tank, but you can certainly do, half of that, and it's still a good time. It's still going to earn you credits. It's still going to be just all around a fun game. I really, really enjoyed this tank. So there we go, 1,974 base XP. I think by far that is my highest non-Cromwell or Cromwell Knight total. Great result in this tank. Really, really had a nice impact on the battle. Played that support role. We were popping up, we were flanking, we were taking shots of opportunity. A lot of things went right. We got lucky. Some free hits on the ISU, some free hits on the IS. But we put ourselves in the position to get those free hits. So, sometimes it's a little bit of luck, but you got to also create the opportunity for that luck to pay off. My allies had a great game there. We steamrolled, and to be able to still put up those kind of numbers in a steamroll is just a testament to the mobility of the AMX Chaffee. You can get to where you need to. If it's a steamroll and you're in a slow tank, you're just not going to be able to mop up to get those extra credits and XP. In the Chaffee, if you can preserve your hit points early, find those opportunities and make a push or a rush late in the game, you'll really be rewarded. So we can see we fired 31 shots, which I don't think the ammo capacity is too much higher than that. We had 26 direct hits. We bounced 5 of our shots, which, that's going to happen when you're in this tank. You got to be prepared for it. But the ones that went in did a nice amount of damage, earned us a nice profit, had a nice impact on the game, and so just an all-around really, really good game in the AMX Chaffee. So we're going to wrap up now. Hopefully the review of the tank gave you guys an idea of what this tank can do. Hopefully this tank will be available soon. It is one that I thoroughly recommend playing if it's something you're interested in for having fun. Keep in mind it's a tier 6 tank, so the silver earning potential is not going to be as high as most of the tier 8 premium tanks. And when I bought this tank, it was my first gold purchase was this tank and the package that it came with. And that was before we had all the free premium medium tanks out there, the Motherland, CDC, the Hammer, all those tanks that you can earn that really put a lot of silver in your pocket. I needed a silver earning tank at the time. I was falling behind in my silver compared to the tanks I was unlocking. So this really kind of fit the bill for me at the time. But I don't play it as much anymore because it's tier 6. It has kind of a lower ceiling in terms of the credits that it can earn. But it is a great French crew trainer still. It is a lot of fun, so I still try to find time for it. And I still try to find opportunities for training my French crew to put them in this tank. Certainly my Bat Chat crew got to 100% very quickly because of a couple of games like this one. So hopefully that was interesting or informative. It helped you out. If you see this tank go on for sale, maybe this will help you decide if it's the right purchase for you. If you found this video useful, please feel free to like, favorite, and subscribe. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time.